as far as getting started tonight, I just wanted to, again, let you know that generally Nia Harris is the one that she started the Ask series. She would be here if she did not have a child that was in the hospital right now, so really couldn't make it. Hopefully not very serious, so hopefully she'll be out soon. But stepping up was Sherry, Sherry Sanders, who's my partner in Do Good Roseville. And we talked about Nia. When Nia said she wanted to stop doing this series, she's like, we'll find someone else. We're not going to find somebody else. Because I've said with Nia, what's really special about Nia is that she's great at building relationships, and she meets with the people and finds the people, meets with them in advance, builds these relationships that people trust her and will come to be a part of a panel in front of strangers. And Nia's done that. Well, when this one came up, I'm like, oh, I couldn't do this. Sherry, however, is in charge of Rice Street Gardens, if you've heard of that, where they have 260 plots. I'll let her tell you about that. But because of that, she works a lot with immigrants and refugees, and she brought all the panel together. So Sherry was the perfect place.
Thank you, everyone. Hi. Good evening, and I'm very excited to be here, and I would love to tell you about my friends here. I need notes because this is my first time. Please bear with me. At the end of our program, we may have time for audience comments and questions, like follow-up questions, besides what you're going to write on your postcards, okay? And just by a show of hands, are there any immigrants or refugees in the audience? Oh, okay. All right. That's okay. I want to say that I've known these panelists for 3 years. Through Rice Street Gardens. It's a community garden, organic, 266 plots, mostly immigrants and refugees. And is that me? No? Good. Okay. And at this time, I'd like to have them introduce themselves.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sita. I am a former refugee from Bhutan. Now I am a legal citizen of the country. I came to US in 2009, on March 2009, March 13th, with my 2 little kids and my husband. My son was like 5 years old when I came to the country, and my daughter was 6 months old. And then we came to Minnesota, and then everything was different than what we have over there. Being in a small refugee camp and coming to a beautiful place with like lots of different things, it was kind of challenging for me. Like cultural shock was one of the things. And family separation was the other great thing, because I was kind of used to living with a joint family. And then my husband and myself, we moved to Minnesota with just 2 little kids. And that surprised me a lot, but I was okay. Had really tough time in the beginning, but lots of people start coming, and then I get to know other people from the community. And then, what else do I need to say? That's all. And I'm really happy to be here today. I heard about Do Good Roseville from Sari, as she already told. I'm still working at the community garden. I work as a medical interpreter, and my husband works as a medical interpreter and St. Paul Public School interpreter. My son, he is 16 now, and he is in Roseville area high school on 11th grade. He is a soccer player playing from Roseville High School and a club called Blackhawks of St. Paul. My daughter, she turned 10 on September 6th. She is a dancer, and she's doing tap and jazz from Larkin Dance Studio in Maplewood. So these days, things have changed, and hope I will be able to answer your question.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Abraham Watson from Liberia. People usually ask me why you come from Liberia and you got Watson name. So I say names are universal. You can find any name. But my father was reared by an American missionary. That's how I got the Watson name. Anyway, I'm from Liberia, West Africa. Came to the United States 1992 with my family. my former wife, I would say, my 2 sons and 3 girls. And from Liberia, we came to, people wonder why we landed in Moorhead and away from Liberia, but it worked. So anyway, I came 1992 into Moorhead. The Good Shepherd Lutheran Church sponsored my family. And I lived, but before we came, I was in exile in the Ivory Coast because of a civil war in Liberia. And I've been one of those that worked for the Voice of America. I don't know if you ever heard about it. I worked for it in Liberia, that had the 2nd biggest station. So while we were working in this civil war took place and were threatened to be killed. So the Voice of America asked the American government to resettle us. So we had to stay in the Ivory Coast for a year and a half. Imagine you with 5 children, your wife, and no work for 1.5 years. So it was kind of like, you got to tough it up, you know. And we stayed there for 1.5 years, no work, nothing. And I came here in 1992 into Moorhead. And after some time, I started thinking, here, I don't think you don't deserve working for minimum wage. So the first thing that came to my mind was, I'm going to work for $4.25, I'm going to school. So I went to school in Moorhead, did construction, electricity, graduated, came and joined the local union 110 in St. Paul. And I worked for 21 years, and I'm retired. I will not say my age, but you guessed. All right, so anyway, I'll just stop right there. If there's any question, I'll answer your question later.
Hi, my name is Blendin, and I'm a student, so I don't have any kids like them. But I came here with my mom. I was pretty young, but I don't think I remember a lot of stuff from there. But I'll try to answer. I'll try to answer the questions from what I remember. Oh, I'm from Congo. Yeah, but I was born in Congo, but before I came here, I went to Uganda first, and then I came here.
So how we answer questions? Oh, yep. Thank you, Abe. So if you have any questions, please write them down on postcards, and I will. My partner will come get them, and we'll just go through the questions. The first one is, how long did it take you to get here, and did you experience any difficulties in your journey?
When I was in the camp, when we heard about the IOM, the immigration organization who brings people to different countries for third countries resettlement, the process took like 1.5 years because I was pregnant at that time with my little girl. And then we fly for like 22 hours and then finally came to Minnesota. As I told you, like I was here on March, and when I wake up in the morning, I saw no leaf on the trees. And my husband's third brother was here before us, couple of months, maybe like 6 months before us. And I asked him, like, brother, don't they have leaf on the tree over here? And he said, no, they have, but it's winter time. And the next morning I saw snow, which I haven't seen in my entire life. All the ground was like white, and I asked him, like, what is that? And he said, it's a snow. And really challenging. we were like here with few amounts of clothes, and we get to know lots of volunteers who donate us coat, boots, and everything. In the beginning, it was really tough, but I overcome it. Now I enjoy snow.
Yes, when you asked whether it was difficult coming here and what I have gone through, it's like coming out of a refrigerator into an oven, or coming from an oven into a refrigerator. Let me reverse it. Because when I moved, it was kind of a cool September. For me, it was cool. Yeah, so there were, yeah, not yet. So people started asking, "Are you cold?" I said, "Yes." But then they sit down with jacket on, asking me if I'm cold. So I, what's wrong with this picture? So anyway, it was kind of a tough, transitioning, from Liberia here, and I was on welfare for about 3 months. And they kept insisting that I stay on welfare. It makes you feel helpless if you just sit down and wait for government to give you food stamp. You don't try to strive for yourself. You just depend on one check, the food stamp, and you got to write a whole history about yourself. So I decided, I'm going to school and get up for this. Oh, you got to get used to the place. I will get used to the place when I start walking around and working. So that's how I got off this refugee program and went to school. It was kind of a rough having young kids. They were very small, from 5 years old. And I think the longest sleep I ever had was for 2 years, frankly, it's about 4 hours. Go to work, come back, can't study, wait for the kids to go to sleep. Then you get up, drink coffee, study, you got to get up early in the morning, go back to work. It was kind of a tough, but sometimes you just got to rough it out. And here I am today. Then, like I said, I came September. My first, like she said, the first snow I saw was, I'll never forget that day, October 25th. Yes, in Moorhead. Yeah, so I'm looking at, like she said, I saw the particles coming down. The ground was brown, and all of a sudden, she said, "Oh, it's snowing." So about 1 hour, everything turned white. I said, "What have I put myself into?" But it was fun, I enjoy working in it too, and here I am. But it was a tough transition.
What was the question again?
The question was, how long did it take you to get here, and did you experience any difficulties?
Well, we were in the refugee camp for 2 years, and when we first got here, it was in the mid-June, so the school was like it was on the summer vacation, so it was boring. I didn't know where to go. I would stay at home most of the day. I would sleep because the time from here in America and back in Uganda is really different. So during the day, they'll be sleeping there. So during the day, I'll be sleeping, and during the night, I'll be awake, and I didn't have anything to do. But my first snow, I knew what it was because I heard of it, but I didn't know how cold it was. So yeah, I went outside with no winter clothing on. I was playing in it. I was like, it's not even cold. But when I went back in, my hands was itchy. Like when I touched in warm water, it started itching even more. So I was like, what should I do? My mom was like, I told you. Who told you to go outside and play? And then there's this guy. He helped us. And my mom called him. He was like, Blendine is crying so bad. Her her hands are itchy. He came with the gloves on because we had some of the winter clothing, but it wasn't warm enough. So he came with it and he gave it to me. But after a while, I felt better, and I learned my lesson to not go outside without clothing on.
Okay. Our next question is, how did you get into a refugee camp and how long were you there?
Okay. In 1990s, there was a kind of like a civil war in Bhutan. Bhutan is a beautiful country close by India. And the fourth king of Bhutan set up a rule of like one nation and one nation, one people. I was just 8 years old when my parents came to Nepal as a refugee, but I heard from my parents, and they start treating people differently because my parents look different, they follow different religion, and then my parents were forced to leave the country. And then my parents went to Nepal as a refugee in 1992, and we lived there for like 19 years. And then I came to US in 2009, so I was there for almost like 20 years. In the refugee camp, which is in Nepal.
Well, it was kind of a rough. Before coming here, the United States government could not pick us out of Liberia. We were 28 families that worked for the Voice of America. So they couldn't pick us out of Liberia to bring us to the Ivory Coast. So what they did was, we had to find our way out of Liberia into the Ivory Coast. And the difficult part was the rebels, the kids, 8-year-old and up fighting, Yeah, so they were in charge of all the vehicles. So that's the only transportation you had. So you gotta know what to say, how to say it. So to bring my family out of Liberia into the Ivory Coast, I just had a sweet mouth talk these rebels, like telling them, oh man, you guys are doing a good job. Even though it was not from my heart, but just to make them pleased. And sometimes you give them a little money, they take you from one. You'll be lucky if they pick you up from St. Cloud to Minneapolis without saying you didn't give me money. But I was lucky to have brought my family through Liberia into the Ivory Coast with rebel little boys with guns hanging over us. When I got in the Ivory Coast, it was like somebody thirsty for a glass of cold water. And when I crossed that border from Liberia, it was like, I'm redeemed. I didn't get killed. And I stayed there for a year and a half. Now, they had to make sure that you have worked for some United States agency in Liberia for at least 2 years before you qualify to get on this resettlement program. So I stayed there for 2.5 years. 1.5 years, 1.5 years without any work with my family. So I had to put in for everything I ever worked for my family not to sleep on the floor in a refugee camp. So I had to rent a house and just spend. You wouldn't believe it, I came to the United States with $20 US. But I survived. And this was some of the difficult times, transition from Liberia, threatening to get killed into the Ivory Coast. So they had to send immigration to make sure that you are coming from Liberia. So they ask you all kinds of questions, send doctors and whatnot. So stayed there so long, I came broke. The Ivory Coast. Ivory Coast is a neighbor. You have Guinea, Sierra Leone, Liberia. But Liberia is situated by the Atlantic Ocean. So you got the Ivory Coast, you got Guinea, and you got Sierra Leone. So it was when you are running away, you find the quickest way. So the quickest way was through the Ivory Coast. That's how I ended up. It's a French colony. Yeah, it was one colonized by France.
Like I said, I was young. So my mom, I just remember one day my mom packing all our stuff. And then we went, like Congo. To get to Uganda, you have to go to Rwanda. So Rwanda is near Uganda. So we have to cross the border from Rwanda to get to Uganda. So I remember my mom talking to these police officers. I don't know what they were saying, but it took a long time. And then after they were talking, we got into this bus. And then from that bus, we went to the capital city of Rwanda, and that's Kigali. But before we got there, it was just horrible. Like the road, it had a lot of bumps in it, a lot of curves. There was a lot of throwing up in the bus. Yeah, so when we got there, everyone was car sick. So we had to get off the bus and go into another bus to get to Uganda. It was okay. The trip from Rwanda to Uganda, it was a little better than that, a little better than from Congo to Rwanda. But when we got to Uganda, the capital city of Uganda is Kampala. So when we got there, we got into another bus to take us to the refugee camp. It was during the night, and I didn't see like most of the people. I didn't see the people because it was during the night, they were asleep. And we got in the house, and there was no beds. Like soil, like mud. They would stack mud up here and let it dry. It would be like this. It's like a wall, but it's like a wall, but it's down. So we had to sleep there. And there was no chairs or couches or TV. It was boring. Like we had to do pretty much the same stuff every day. And by getting water, you have to go like miles away. Everyone had to go get water because if you don't have water, there's nothing to drink. I would go and I'll carry stuff on my back. It was heavy. But we survived, and we were in the refugee camp for 2 years, like I said. And then when we got here, I already said that, but yeah.
Thank you. All right. So we have more questions coming. Here's one. What is your greatest challenge, and what do you like best about life in America or Minnesota?
Everything was challenging. And then transportation was the main problem. Like in the beginning, I was here with little kids, and I came from an agency named Minnesota Council of Church, and their office is in Minneapolis, Brooklyn Park, somewhere else. And I was supposed to take a city bus from St. Paul and go over there. I was lost several times on the way, and then that was one challenging thing. And then when my kids were sick, when I was taking the bus to the clinic, when I see people driving, what I used to think is like, oh my God, how can they drive in such like crazy road? And I used to think like, I may not be able to drive my life long. So that's what was really challenging. And then I thought to go to do my nursing assistant course at another agency called International Institute of Minnesota. And I went there to do my nursing course, and I completed my 6 weeks nursing course. And it was really tough for me because it was winter, and I was taking bus every day, coming back and forth. And my husband was the only person, he used to work as a cashier in Target, and he used to get like $7 per month, like per hour. And that was challenging. And then to get a permit, driving permit, I tried like 3 times. I failed it. And on the 4th time, I get my driving permit, which was challenging. And then I complete my nursing course, and I start working at a nursing home, which is in University in Galtier. It's called Galtier Home Health Care, which was challenging for me because they put me on, in the beginning I was working for weekends, and then they put me on overnight shifts. That was really challenging because my kids were alone home. So everything was challenging.
Well, as for me, there were a lot of challenges for coming from, getting to know people and getting people to know who I am. It was, imagine, I think I was, if I'm not mistaken, I was either the first black or second in Fargo Moorhead. Yeah, so it was kind of like, you got to get these people to know who you are. And I got along well with everybody there. I came from a place that even though the word segregation is in the dictionary, but I never look at it there. We don't think about that. We just say, hey, we are all human beings. I don't look at color. But it was kind of tough for me, coming into this society. But you just got to know how to talk, how to get along with people. So it was very challenging. Sometimes there were some, like you get at a point to say something or do something, but then how would people look at you? He's rude, he's this, sometimes just let something fly over your head. But there was a lot of challenges. But thank God I made it through.
The greatest challenge I had was the first day of school when we first came here. It was hard because I knew English, some of English, but I didn't. My accent, it wasn't good. I mean, it's still bad, but it wasn't. It was worse than this. The Ugandan accent is really bad. But I got bullied a lot because I just came from Africa, and some people take Africa as a really poor place, and they don't respect people who are from there, especially students. And when I tried to make new friends, they wouldn't welcome me in their group, and that was pretty hard for me. I remember I would go in the bathroom and cry and look at myself. I'd be like, I want to go back. I was accepted there. But but now I'm not bullied anymore, but I'm used to it. And I know how people who are being bullied feel. So if I see someone getting bullied right now, I'll stand by their side and trying to make the people who are bullying them stop, because that's not okay.
Our next question is, did you choose? Oh. Yeah, what do you like best? Yep, everyone. What do you like best?
Okay. The best thing, everything is nice over here comparing to the refugee life. The best thing was I was able to complete my nursing course and start working and some money. I got my permit, I was able to drive. And then to keep myself involved in the community, I start working with a group of ladies who knows how to knit. I went to Minnesota Council of Church, and there was a lady who used to supply us lots of yarn and the steak, and I brought that to the community, and there were lots of housewives like sitting inside the apartment when their kids were in school and husbands were in their work. And I distribute all the yarn and the stick, and they start making lots of hats and scarf and all those things. So that helped them like to engage themselves in something where they will not be sitting just idly thinking about their back home country and refugee life and all those things. And then there came a lady, she was really a nice person, and she started collecting all those things that our ladies were making, and she started selling those. And then she started bringing them some money, and the lady were really, like, they encouraged themselves, and they start needing lots of things. And they start making some monies too. I worked with those groups for 2 years, but the lady who was helping us, she was really, really old, and she wasn't able to help us, and I didn't find anybody after that. And then I started working at a community office, which is called Bhutanese Community Office. I still work there as a social service coordinator, help people from the community who have like legal issues and all those. Like if I'm not able to help them, I will refer them to a special place. So I like the life is better here, so that's the thing I like about.
Well, what I like best about the United States, and most especially Minnesota, there are a lot of opportunities here for you to learn, except you don't want to. I mean, compared to where I came from, I mean, you will have maybe about, if one of your friends has book, you will have to come to your house, what the teacher has explained in the class, then you take note from this person's book, you know, and that's how you made your way through. But here, and I never used calculator all the way through high school. No calculator, no computer. Copyhead is better than copybook. That was the same back then. So here you can go to school. There are a lot of opportunities here. You just got to make yourself. So that's why I like mostly about Minnesota.
I agree with him about the education and stuff. Where I'm from, yes, there's education, but it's not as good as the one here. You have to pay, and some they don't have the money, so they just stay at home because they don't have the money to pay to go to school. But I like it here because you go to school for free, and for college, if you can do it, they can help you. So that's what I like about that the most.
Thank you.
Yeah, let me just add one more. You see, in Minnesota here, let's say when I came here, you can go right on 1330, right on University, the Hop Center, and you can get a high school graduate. You can get your high school diploma without paying a penny. But how many person wants to go there? You know. So I just wanted to just bring that back to where that's what I like about this. A lot of opportunity. You mentioned the weather. It's nice.
Okay, our next question is, did you choose to come to Minnesota? And if so, why?
To be honest with you all, I didn't choose to be at any place, but my husband's brother was here. Actually, first my husband's sister was here in 2008, and my husband's third brother came, and then they said, like, if some of our family is in certain place, in certain state, then we have to come to that place. So I came to Minnesota from my husband's family side, whereas my parents are in Kentucky, Louisville, Kentucky. So I didn't choose, but they told me, like, some of my family members were already in Minnesota, so they told me to go to Minnesota, and I came over here. I didn't choose to come here, but I love Minnesota.
Yes, I mean, it was the same thing with my family. They, after the Voice of America got in contact with sponsors, they got in contact with the Lutheran Social Service. And the Lutheran Social Service in turn started looking, they were actually, do you have any relatives or friends in the United States? You know, so they would make way for you to come and stay with this person or in the vicinity. So they asked me, I said, I got some friends there, but I'm not in contact with anybody. So my coming here had to be delayed for about a week. They were looking for a sponsor. So it was on the 16th of September, my name went on the bulletin board that I was coming to Minnesota. The Lutheran, Good Shepherd Lutheran Church decided to sponsor my family, and everybody went, oh, Minnesota. So I'm sitting there, wow, why are they saying who? But I knew what it was when I entered Minnesota. It was a quite different situation. It was different. Big cooler.
Okay, so in the refugee camp, it's a process. So they told us that we're coming to America, but they didn't tell us the state yet. And here we have someone, he's from Congo, where we're from. So he came here a long time ago through school, college. He came here for college, so he stayed here for like 25 years now. He's here for 25 years. His family's here. So when he heard he had that we got the America, he came to Uganda to give us a how do you say recommendation? Yeah, that. For us to come here to Minnesota because he's here. So he gave us the paper. We went to the office and we showed them. They were like, okay, and then they sent us here. And from that day, he came to the airport and he was waiting for us. He had already rented out an apartment for us. Yeah, and since then he's been helping us. And there's a lot of refugees that he's brought here. So like he helps refugees and stuff like that. And he's a pastor too.
Thank you. Next question. Is there an organization that's been basically helpful to you? And if so, please explain.
Firstly, I was here in Minnesota from an agency called Minnesota Council of Church. Minnesota Council of Church was really helpful to me because they helped me when I was beginning my new life over here. They helped me with lots of my like things like documenting, applying for a social security card, applying for benefit in the county in the beginning. And then later they helped me with some, like they helped me provide some volunteers who were really helpful to me when I was starting a new life over here. Secondly, there is, right now there is a community office where I work now. So the community office is really helpful to me, plus to all those who are in the community. So those two agencies.
Well, my first thanks will go out to Good Shepherd Lutheran Church, I think, for sponsoring my family. But like I said, I didn't want to be on welfare. I was on it just for about 3 months. And I said, I'm going to school. And it was kind of a tough. It was kind of a tough. But I remember the first money I ever worked for with a family, my 3 girls, my 2 boys, my wife, and I, $4.25. Now, what can that do for you? So that's kind of encouraged me to advance myself, and that's how I went on. But to say there was an organization that really helped me, everything was a struggle for me. I mean, there were people willing to help, but Liberians are sort of people that don't come, oh man, I'm catching hard time today. Can you give me a $5? No, we are, if you're going to help me, you help me. I'm not going to come and be begging you. I'd rather struggle for myself. So besides the church, everything I went through, I worked for it. Yeah.
The guy that I said that helped us, the pastor, he works with the Ramsey County. So he basically gave us the food, the free food, the card. Yeah, the free food. He gave us clothes and stuff like that. And he still helps us from today. Yeah, so he's the person who has helped us, and his church, Bethel Christian Fellowship, is in St. Paul. And yeah.
Right. Let's see, our next question is, I think we've answered this one. What is the hardest thing about coming to a new country? Yeah. Yep. Okay. And what are the biggest differences between life in Minnesota and your native country?
So I don't remember lots of things about the country that I was born, Bhutan. As I told you, like I was 80 years old when my parents left the country. But I heard from my parents, and I remember something like it was a beautiful country. And then I grew up in a refugee camp where there were like lots and lots of friends close by each other. No matter whether we have good clothes or shoes on our feet, we used to play like bare feet, but we used to have lots of friends. And relatives were close by. Our houses were made so close to each other, like if my mom cooks something, we can share to the next person, but we can't do that anymore here. So it's really different than comparing the life over there in the refugee camp and over here. Though it's a better place, we have like good food to eat, good clothes to wear, better place to work, but we miss those days. Now those our neighbor and our friends and our relatives who used to be like really close to us, they are in like different countries. Some of them are in Canada, some in Australia, some in New Zealand. So we miss those things.
Well, one big difference between, let me say Africa or Liberia as a whole and here is that word respect. Where I came from, you do not swear in front of an older person or female. And I see it a lot, which sometimes bothers me, but what can you do? And the educational system. There, you start school, you have different you got the curriculum that you go by and you set up your syllabuses. But if you do not complete what is required between kindergarten and 6th grade, you're not going to go to the 7th grade. You can have gray hair. They want you to complete what is required for you to come from kindergarten to 6th grade. Compared to somebody coming here, okay, he's about my same age, but he's in the 6th grade, and I come from a war zone country where I missed 3 classes. But because he and I are the same age, so they put me right in that class. You know how many classes you have missed? So these are some of the differences I see in the educational system. So these are some of the differences I see, and sometimes it bothers me. Like, you got a requirement from kindergarten to 6th grade, from 6th grade to 9th grade, from 10th grade to 12th grade. You got to meet the requirement before you can go to the next class. It's like baby learning how to crawl, sit. You got to follow that step. But here it's kind of a little.
Okay, the difference is like everything because one is freedom of speech. The second one is at school. Here, if you're 30 in class, it's your problem. Well, and if you got an F, it's your problem. But in Africa, Congo, if you get an F or 30 to class, they have like a stick, a thick one, thicker than that. They'll hit you, like they'll whoop you, like from your behind. And your parent doesn't, like your parent allows that. Even though your parents come to school and say, stop hitting my child, they don't care. No one's gonna stop them. That's what they do at their school. Yeah, so that's different from here. I definitely like that. I don't get whooping at school. And yeah, that's all. Well, there's a lot more, but if I start, we won't finish.
You know, talking about, sometimes it was like an encouragement that once they don't knock you on your head, but like say like on Monday they gave you like about 25 words, you might be able to learn how to spell it, define it, you know, put it into a sentence, know the different parts of speech. And then on Friday they line you all up and they tell you, spell Taber. You say T-A-B-E. Come, spell Taber. She makes it. Come to you and spell Taber. And you say T-A-B-L-E. Now what you do, you're going to take that switch and give her 2 latches in her hand. So you better know the words by Friday. It's a matter of must. Yeah, or you get a few latches. And I'm going to give you a few latches in your hand because you're my friend. The teacher will say, no, that's not how I want you to give the latches. This is how I want you to do it. They will try it on you. That's what I want you to do, you know. So the school system was challenging, yeah.
Yeah, as like they said, it was common in our refugee camp too. And we used to have a white t-shirt and a blue skirt. And they don't mind like if we put slippers or shoes. But they used to be so strict on our dress. Like if we missed to have a white t-shirt, they used to send us back to home. And the other thing, like when I was in 3rd grade, like if I fail certain kind of like test, they won't take me to 4th grade. They will keep me on the 3rd grade. So I have to repeat the class. Yeah, that was the difference. And it's not like that over here.
I'm going to give a question for each of you now. Sita, can you tell us if you keep in touch with your friends and family from all over the world?
Yes, I do. My mom was born in India, and she got married with a guy from Bhutan who was my dad. And my mom's family is still in India. My uncle, my mother's brother, sister, everybody is in India. So we keep calling them through Facebook, which is good for us to connect with people. And with my friends, classmates, and my neighbors everywhere, we just text them on Facebook Messenger and get their numbers. Sometimes we buy like the phone card, which has several minutes on them, and then we use that to be connect with them. So yes, we do.
Well, with me, I have 2 nieces and 1 nephew back in Liberia. I don't have a mother, I don't have a father, I don't have a sister or a brother. And we try to help them, but most of the time you're living in the United States, they think there's a tree where you go and pick dollar note from it, you know. So you have money tree. So you try to help them, because after the Civil War, there isn't anything. So we communicate, and most of the time, you're afraid to communicate with them because, hello, please, dollar sign. Everybody wants money. And there's nothing for nothing here. You got to work. One thing I like, Americans work. You see, but over there after the war, nobody got anything. So we communicate. They're the only one I got there to communicate with. But sometimes the communication is kind of a block because, are you telling me the truth? Like my sister, when my sister died, I was out of work for about a year. The closest one to me, she was the only one I had. I could not go. So what I had to do, I just asked them, how do I bury her? Because it would cost me almost like about $6,000 round trip. So I said, okay, just tell me how much it will cost, and I will send the money. And the funny part was, that's why I don't communicate with them too much. You could hear them because I'm in the United States. Tell him $500. Tell him $1. So I'm sitting down listening to it in the background, then I say, hey, cool down. Who's going to tell me what it costs? So it's hard to kind of communicate with them. You want to be nice to them, but then they think you are, so that's communicating with them is kind of a rough.
I have aunties and uncles and cousins back there, but I don't talk to them very much, but my mom does. So when she's talking to them, I'll say hi, and I'll just move on with what I'm doing.
This question is for Abraham. What did you do in Liberia for your career?
I taught elementary school with the United Nations group. It was like my parents were poor. We did subsistence farming, so I had to cut firewood and do all kinds of things just to find money to support myself in school. When my father got sick, I was in the 5th grade. And I did everything within my power to help my mother and me, like to buy my copybooks, to buy my uniform. And there were means of all getting scholarship. But because you were not in Africa, you were not in a ring where you know somebody in the government, you didn't get a scholarship. So I've tried until I got in the 9th grade. I didn't know how I was going to go through high school. And I sat a long time, and I decided to go to, the capital city of Liberia is Roseville, named after James Monroe, one of the United States presidents. So I decided to go to the city. Then this guy said to me, Abraham, there's a test going on. They want to train some people to be teachers. So I said, oh. So I bought a number two pencils, and I went and took that test. And I graduated. Okay, from the 10th grade, you do nothing but how to teach elementary kids through the United Nations. And I did that all the way until I graduated from high school. Now, I taught from kindergarten to 3rd grade through the UNESCO technical program, UNESCO. So I worked, and while I was working, I decided, teachers were getting $75 a month. $75 a month. So I said, I think I better find another trade. So I went to a technical school, and when I graduated, my plan was to work as an electrician, but they put me in a transmitter, instead of being electronics, so we're like broadcasting, and I did that all the way until the Civil War. So I kind of taught, then worked for the Voice of America until the Civil War.
This question is for Blondine. Was there something a teacher did for you that was helpful when you first started school? Or is there something you wish your teacher would have done for you when you started school?
Well, he did some stuff that was helpful, but sometimes I wish he could have did more than tell me that he's gonna talk to them. But then he was like, I'll talk to them, but then he'll go back to his desk. I wanted him to do more, like go talk to him right now while I'm looking at you. But he went back to his desk, and that didn't make me feel good. Like it made me feel more unwanted, like unwelcomed to the school.
Thank you. Here's a question. What languages do each of you speak fluently? And if you have children, do they speak your native language too, or just English?
I speak Nepali, and I do speak some national language of Bhutan, which is called Dzongkha, and I speak English. I have 2 kids. I have set up a rule for them. My daughter was 6 months old when she came. My son was 5. He started going to school. He started learning English. But my daughter was home with me, and she doesn't know how to, she didn't know how to speak English. And then every day my son was learning how to speak English, and he started talking with my daughters in English. And I thought, okay, if he keep doing that, my daughter will forget the native language. She won't be able to speak English, Nepali. So what I thought is, I told them when they were growing, when my son was in 2nd grade, 3rd grade, I set up a rule, you 2 are allowed to speak English outside my home, but when we enter the home, you are not allowed to speak English until there comes a visitor who speaks English. So they start talking in Nepali, and the little girl who I brought was 6 months old, can speak really good Nepali. She understands Hindi, which is a national language of India, but she doesn't know how to talk, reply them back. But my both kids can speak good Nepali language, and I'm proud of it.
Well, that's where I got lost. Sometimes you got so much things on your mind. There are things you should concentrate on, you don't. In Liberia, there are 16 different tribes, but English is the official language, and we're from the tribe called the Kpelle, K-P-E-L-L-E. It is the largest tribe in Liberia, and my kids could speak that when they were there, but when you are running from war, you don't have time for all of this and say, okay, let's speak English and go. So that's what happened. So, but I still speak my local dialect with my oldest daughter. And when I try to do it to the youngest or the middle one, they ask me, are you speaking Spanish? so, yeah, so I said, no, I'm not speaking Spanish. That one of the languages from back there, the local language. So, but one can speak our local language, but the other one so it's kind of a tough, but sometimes, I tell them hello, like you say, yeah, toi, which is hello, then turn around, look at me, what did you just say? Okay. So it's kind of tough.
My home language is Swahili, and in Congo at school, we only speak French at school. So I knew a little bit of French in Congo, but then when I went to Uganda, I went to school and they speak English. So I was forgetting French, and right now I can understand what you're saying in French, and I can reply to you a little bit, but I'm not good at it no more.
All right. Our next question will be, What do you think is the biggest misconception about refugees? Or what is the one thing you wish the U.S. knew about refugees?
I wish people could treat everyone equally. And I want people to know, like, refugees are people like you. We are all human beings. Respect others to be respected. So what I think is, like, refugees are like a mud. If you want to make anything from mud, you can make a pot, a beautiful plate, whatever you want. If you have a skill, like, they will be able to do lots of things for the betterment of the country. So first, be on their shoes, feel their lives, and treat them equally like all the peoples. That's all I want.
I think I got your question going on. One of the, they look at refugees like nobody knows anything. That's how some people, you have had doctors from the United States here taking training on doctors in Liberia, where they work together and they start learning traditional treatment. But then those same doctors come here, you can't work. You got to go to school. Instead of just giving you some kind of a test to know, and these are doctors, that American doctors work on. But they come here, you don't know anything, you got to go back to school. Whereas all it takes is just to give a simple test. You will have some of the best doctors or whatsoever professional. But as soon as you come here, you don't know anything. Go to school. And I tell you, there are some high school students back there that can challenge, because this is something you are not using calculator. It is something that is buried in your head. But when you come here, you're nothing. You gotta go to school.
I'm agreeing on what Sita said about treating everyone with respect, because they didn't choose to be in a refugee camp. They had to go there, and they're human too, just like you. The only difference is that you're in America and they're in the refugee camp, and it goes with Africa, like, in general. Some people thinks that all people from Africa are poor and stuff. They came from the streets. And I'm talking, like, because I've experienced it. People say that, like, how is Africa? Like, did you, like, sleep in the streets? Did you live in a house? I'm like, yes, I lived in a house, and I had TV and everything. I had everything you have, but it's just a different countries. But Africa is not a country, though. And I just want them to treat everyone with respect, regardless of where they're from and what they look like.
And then I would like to add one more thing. Like, refugees are people from different country. They might have lots of skills. Some might be a good teacher. Some might be a doctor, like as Abraham said, and some might be a carpenter who have, like, hidden talent inside them. But they aren't able to expose their talent because of the language. So the best way of dealing is have an interpreter and have a good communication to know the fact. People cannot just ignore people because of their language. People who are, like, thinking refugee as a useless person, they should think about them putting in their country and they should think about them like not knowing their language and being around the people who are like new to them and being in the new country. So treat them with respect, have an interpreter if you have a language problem, and know the fact before judging. Like, we cannot judge a book by its cover. We need to read it to figure out like what is inside and what is the moral and all those things. Thank you.
Something we do at Rice Street Gardens is we have group leaders who represent a group of gardeners who speak different languages, because we believe communication is the key to building community. And Sita and Blandine are also garden monitors, and they're helping watch over our gardens. My next question is, what do you wish someone would have told you or explained to you upon arrival?
Everything. I wasn't sure like here will be snow, like weather changes, which was totally different from my country. And then the way we expect America was like totally different from the way we are experiencing right now. It's challenging. And like we have to come over here and see the fact. Nobody can just tell like America is like this, like that. But I wish I could have like learned about America, like life that we're gonna spend over here. And then I wish we could get like people who can volunteer to those new people. If they didn't receive more information in back home country that they were coming from, I wish they could get information when they are really new over here. I wish we could have like more volunteers who can visit them and have some interaction, because at least one of the family can speak some English. Maybe the tongue is different, but sometimes we need to use the sign language to have communication too. So I wish we could have more volunteers to explain like life over will be like this, rules will be like this, and all those things.
Maybe I wish for somebody to explain to me about the weather in Minnesota. But thank God they didn't do it. Because, I mean, regardless of the cold, I love Minnesota. Everything I do, I even love all the Minnesota teams. So I think you learn. When people explain things to you, sometimes it's quite different. It's good for you to see for yourself, interact. So it's good nobody explain anything. I figure it out myself. Because if somebody, like you go into the movie and somebody explain all what you're going to watch, don't tell me, let me go there and see it. Then I think, learn it better. So I don't think it was okay. I didn't have to ask a lot of questions or nobody explain. Like I said, only the weather. They didn't have to explain that to you. You will figure it out once you get in Minnesota.
I wish someone could tell me you can't be outside in the snow without, snow clothes on.
Thanks. Here's another question. What advice or wisdom would you tell a refugee who's just arriving in the United States?
Everything. Like, sometimes people are used to, like, when I was in the refugee camp, we used to cook food in a firewood. We never had those kind of gas and stove, microwave, anything. So first thing, like, I wish I could teach everybody who is new, like, how to use the things inside the apartment, how to call for help when they are in emergency, And when I was new to the country, lots of ladies I know from Minnesota Council of Church, they used to take me for a speaking bureau to share my stories. And then I used to share with them, like, every time I go to a group to speak in front of people or to the new people who are in the country, I used to share one thing, like, once I had really like tough time inside my apartment. I was home, my husband was at work, I was home, and my husband's brother was in the home, but he has a flexible schedule and he used to work at Walmart. And I was home with my 2 kids. I was thinking to drink some coffee or tea because I just came home from my work and my husband's brother just left. And when I entered the apartment, I used to live at apartment at that time, and when I entered the apartment, I thought like drinking tea. And I almost light on the oven and put some milk to boil, but what I thought is, let me like clean up all the mess and let me drink tea later. And then I started cleaning up my apartment, and my 7-year-old son, it was 2 years later when I come, it was in 2011, my 7-year-old son followed me cleaning up. And my daughter, she was like 2.5 years old. She started following me. And we had a big closet in our apartment. And then I used to put all the toys of my kids over there after they are done playing. So we start cleaning up. And I didn't realize like the closet door used to be locked if somebody pushed it. And I went inside the closet to put my things. My son followed me, and my daughter followed me. And they pulled the door from inside, and we were locked. I was not having watch in my hand. I didn't have cell phone at that time. Nobody was there. I was locked. And my daughter used to be on diapers on that time. Thank God she didn't poop. She peed over there. And then we were locked. I almost cried. My son cried. And he brought an idea. He saw a piece of paper and a pencil. And he said, Mom, let's play tic-tac-toe. And we start playing. But coincidentally, the pencil was there without the eraser, and the paper was all full, and we cannot erase it, and we cannot play anymore. That day, luckily, my husband's brother had cancellation on his schedule, and he came home after 3 hours. Like, he stopped in Walmart, and he came home. And I heard, like, somebody was opening the door, and he came, like, singing, la, la, la. And he said, like, where are other people from our home? And I just knocked the door, and he came, and he opened the door for us. So I share this story that I was locked inside a closet for 3 to 4 hours with my 2 kids. And I encourage all the people to check the doors and closet of all the apartment before they lock themselves inside it. So I will teach whatever I had, like I faced, whatever was the challenges, I will teach them. And I'm still doing that in the community.
The question is, what advice or wisdom would you tell a refugee who's just arriving?
Well, you see, there are some differences. What helps you if you can speak English here? You okay. If you can't, it's tough. It happened to me when I was coming, and I was in what was it? In Belgium. You know, there was a lady that wanted to drink, and she was trying to ask this officer, and he asked, she threw a sign, you know, about drinking. And this guy pretended like he didn't understand what the woman was saying. But I could understand English. And I said, man, she's asking you for water to drink. You know, he kind of like, mind your business. That's what he wanted to tell me, but I was ready to, you know, he was an officer. So I think being able to speak English helps you sometimes to read and follow direction. And, you know, but if you can, it becomes tough. You cannot read road sign. You know, there are so many things you won't be able to do. So, first of all, learn how to speak English, whether you have accent, because everybody got accent when you speak. Yeah, everybody. Because I never knew the people from Arkansas were from the United States until I got to realize that. So just go to school, ask questions, you know, learn how to speak the basic, then I think you will get along.
The advice I'd give someone who's still like new here, like if you're learning English or if you're trying to fit in but it's not working, like don't feel like you don't matter, because you do. And I forgot. If like you're getting bullied, don't just let it in. Speak out. Like tell someone who's close to you, because if you let it in, it will go bigger and bigger, and you don't know, like something bad will happen at the end. Like I just want to tell them that they matter and they shouldn't be scared to say where they're from, because I was scared. They'll be like, where you from? I'd be like, I'll say some other states, because I didn't want to say I'm from Africa because they would judge me. I'll just tell them to speak out, be proud from where you're from, because it's a beautiful country. And because there are some people who are born here, they're 80 years old, they never traveled. They're just here in the United States. Be proud because you've traveled, you're from a different country, like that's the second country you're in. I'll just tell them to be proud and that they matter.
My next question for you is this. Is it hard to fit in, and do you feel like you belong? And the second part of that is, what can we do to make it easier for you?
Yes, it's really hard to fit in because we look different. We practice different religion. We speak English but in different way. And sometimes it surprised me, like when people ask, like, you speak good English. So, like, the second question was? The things that could be done to people to feel comfortable is like, talk to them. And then encourage them to speak. Ask them like how they are feeling. Just learn how to say hello and hi. And then find a translator or interpreter and have a communication. I think that will help. Because the main problem is the language. So if you have an interpreter, we do have a language line now. And if we need to have an interpreter, they can provide us 24/7. So have an interpreter or have someone who can speak the language and make the new people clear about the situation. They might not know because there are lots of different things. So they might not know like whether you are talking for them or against them. So if there is clear communication, then the problem will be half solved. All people, they have, even in Ramsey County, they have all the interpreters language line. You should tell them like what language you need the interpreter for, they will provide it. Maybe we should Google it and find. There are lots of interpreter agencies too, and like there are lots of interpreter agencies, they will have their number in the website, call them and request for an interpreter, they will provide you online interpreter, or a phone interpreter, or a face-to-face interpreter.
Well, with me, I don't know, I'm kind of a little on the other side when it comes to communicating with people. Like, I had a very rough time in the electrical field with the guys. Sometimes I'm trying to explain something, and they come to me and say, "Oh, Abe, speak English." Am I speaking Swahili or am I speaking Latin to you? I say, I try to understand you. We know the content of what we're talking about. Just how I try to understand you, you should understand me. So sometimes we get into a good argument. I say, you know what? If you think you know English, bring a cover book and let's write some sentences and analyze, and then I know you know English. But not because I have accent, you think I don't know what I'm saying. So it's kind of it's a learning process for you and who you work with. Like I said, once there's language barrier, then you got a problem. When you can understand, you can speak up yourself and say, look, hey, you can challenge me in English. I may have accent, but you can't stand me. Sometimes just get in their head, then they will leave you. But if you sit down and if you're talking and you just sit there like you shy, they will keep pumping on you. Sometimes you got to fire back.
The question is it hard to fit in? Do you feel like you belong? And then the second part is, what can we do to make it easier for you?
It's definitely hard to fit in if you're new somewhere, because you're from a different place. You're different than them. Like you don't look the same. And the thing that people would do to make the people feel better is to go talk to them, trying to know them, trying to get to know them. Go ask them what their name is, where they're from, and don't judge them. Like, be interested in it. Like, get to know where they're from, and like invite them. Like at a lunch table, if they're sitting by themselves, invite them, introduce them to your friends so they can get to know other people.
Thank you. Here's a question. I talked to a man from Nigeria who said one of the biggest problems for him is that people in Nigeria treasure community. But for people here, community doesn't seem so important. Is that a problem for you?
Yes, that's a problem, because the main thing is language. They need to be close by the community, like, so they can talk to people, share their feelings. If they don't have community close by, then they will be really down and depressed. They should at least have someone from the community to like listen to them. So yeah, a community matters. That's why we have a small community office where I work. So I think community office, and a community in our culture and to our people is really important.
Yeah, from what I experience here is, Liberia and United States have the same Thanksgiving in the same month. Now, on Thanksgiving Day, we put all the churches together. Baptists, go to one church, cook enough food, and celebrate together. Christmas come, my wife will cook and send to her, send to you, my sister will cook. But here, in the United States, it's quite different. It's just family. If you come here and you don't know a lot of people, or you have friends to visit you, and you have big day like Christmas, you feel isolated. If you're like, I don't have any family to be with me. Why John Brown, his wife and children go into a house, you sitting at home just looking at everybody passing. But here it's quite different how people celebrate these kind of things to bring people together, which is, everything is family, family, family. Don't get me wrong, there are some people who sometimes say, oh, you are invited to our house. But on a larger scale, it's all family.
I was about to say the exact same thing he said, so.
Okay. So at Rice Street Gardens, we have 266 plots. And that means there's a wife and a husband for each plot, and most times children. And we have 10 languages that are spoken for almost 600 people that come and go out of the gardens on a daily basis. And we appreciate the individualness of everyone's language, and we try to show respect and teach others to do the same. So my next question is, from what I have read, refugees break up their lives into 3 sections: home, fleeing and traveling, and then getting to their final destination. What is the hardest part of each section for you? Home, fleeing, and destination.
Home. I think every like all 3 of them are equal. Like, as I said, I used to be in a joint family, and living a home and living some of the family members and like being in a new place, it's really tough. Destination, like not knowing where we are going, how that would look like, what will we have over there, not knowing and just traveling with little kids, it's really tough too. So I don't think there is any difference between all 3 of them. Everything is tough.
Yeah, I think like she rightfully said it, with me it was kind of like fleeing from a war zone, not knowing where you're going. Like, I had not been to the Ivory Coast. But when you are scared, fright will make you do something you don't want to do sometimes. Like traveling, I didn't know where I was going with my family. And you had to go through a war zone, little kids from 8-year-old and up having gun, and stopping the vehicle you are in and telling you, we want all the men down from this car, they have to go and fight. And when you're thinking on your children, your family while you're traveling, and all of these things go, and do you react? No. You just got to know how to talk. And it was a tough time from Liberia to the Ivory Coast, dealing with little kids having AK-47 and Beretta in their hand. And it's like, do I say something I'm not supposed to say to get shot? You know? So that's the traveling part. Then I got in the Ivory Coast, got in this man's house. I wanted to rent this house from a man. And he said, excuse, he said, if you're going to use tissue, then you can't come in my house. What? You know, he didn't want anybody that uses tissue in the bathroom to come in his house. So what that's supposed to mean? Because it fills the toilet up fast, because they don't have what you call septic, you know. So they think by putting the tissue every time we fill a place, I said, doing well, I will have to find another place, but I convinced him. So like coming from one place, you don't know what you're coming into. You know, it's like, okay. It's tough. Traveling, not knowing where you're going, meeting new people, you know. Like somebody telling me I should speak French. I was forced to learn French. But even though I forgot it because I got nobody to communicate with. Take my children to the hospital for treatment. The Frenchman says in front of me, he said, Je connais pas anglais, parlez français. I must speak French. I said, look, I'm coming to pay you money, okay? Even though that's your first time, but sometimes you got to learn how to approach people. I said, my child is sick. I'm telling you, you know, asking you for treatment. You telling me I should speak French before you can treat my child? Sometimes you got to be outspoken. You know, so I mean, these are some of the difficult things. You know, traveling, not knowing where you're going, can be tough. Yeah.
The most difficult thing about leaving home was I wasn't gonna see my friends and my family again. And from to get to Uganda was the car sick. It was like a long ride, hours. And here is learning new things, learning a different language, and meeting people.
Thank you. And that's a wrap for tonight, folks. And I want to thank you for coming.